And we are back. Okay, so we're looking at fluid brushes. This is the third video in the second series of Painter 2023 Step by Step. We looked at the general brush control. We looked at changing captured dabs. We looked at changing the dab profile and also adding dab stencil. Next, listed in the property bar is Impasto. So if we click on the flyout menu for Impasto, we notice that Apply Dab Stencil is there because we did that in the previous thing. But I'm going to take Dab Stencil off right now, and let's just look at Impasto. So if I click on Paint with Impasto, I have the option of color and depth. And I'm going to use depth at 100%. And the plow strength is 100 and smoothing is 100. Now I would probably change all of that, but let's just see what it does first. Now remember, if we click this, we can open up the whole Impasto panel. All right, so we're still with Shape Builder, and we've added some thickness to it. And we're going to let's get another color. Let's get a darker blue, something like that. All right, so if we paint down here, you see as I begin to paint round and round and round, can you see the where's my mind? You can see the thick buildup, right? You see as I increase, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. Now what happens to opacity? Well, look, that's got thickness in it, but it's opaque. I mean, it's transparent. That's kind of weird. So I wouldn't think I would want that to be transparent. So how would I get rid of the transparency? Well, if we come over here, we can see that the dab opacity is only at 50%, and it's set up to pressure. Sorry. There we go. All right, so if we look at the opacity, this is the dab opacity. It's at 50%. It's set up with pressure. So let's take that opacity up to 100. We'll drop this down to 0 and take the pressure away. Put it on none. Okay, so when we do that, there we go. Let's work it again. Look at that. We still have a lot of pressure. I mean, a lot of transparency. So we come over here to the Use Fluid Paint Opacity. And again, let's take this to none. And we'll bring that to minimum down to 0. Now, if we paint, there you go. Now we're painting without any transparency. And, I don't know. You might do this back and forth. I mean, it might be kind of interesting to have a transparent, thick paint. I'm just not real sure, but you have the option of changing this around. Now, if we change this one, let's say we take this one back to 50%. You see the paint opacity is going to be the ruling factor. So if we take that to 50% and none, then we're going to have some transparency. And as I press on this, it's not increasing the pressure because I took off the expression, put it on none. If I put that on pressure and do the same thing, light pressure and darker pressure, it's not making a difference, but I'm over here on the dab. And like we said, the opacity for paint opacity is the bigger setup. So let's take this one and change this to pressure and not anything else, and let's see what happens. Light, increase the pressure. So it's not going to allow it to get all the way up. Now, if I bring this up to full opacity, light is transparent, increasing my pressure does build until we get to the opacity. Now, again, if I want to pick up underlying color, you see this is not working for picking up underlying color. And that's because even here, I would have to reduce the reset to something and increase the bleed. Now when I paint, I'm going to be picking up that color. See? I'm still, though, have mixed emotions over the thick, using impasto with this if I'm going to have any transparency. I think I would prefer to have it transparent. All right, so I'm going to take this back to its default setting. I'm going to get rid of that. The next thing, don't want to meet now. The next thing is blending. So we click on the blending, and you'll notice that we have enhanced layer blending. We have our resaturation at 100% and our bleed at 0, and we have the expression none. Now, I mentioned that we would have to change these things in order to get pick up underlying color. And so, I mean, this is where you would change that to get the underlying color going. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Well, we've talked about the two opacities somewhat. In the stroke, all this is lets us decide if we're doing straight line strokes or curved line and all that kind of stuff. A reset button, and that's for photo art over there. So we've looked at everything that we can look at that has to do with the property bar. Let's go back to advanced settings. All right, now I want to reset this again to make sure it's reset. Now, if I go to media, I have these things down here, this color expression and color variability. If I take my color variability and increase these numbers like that, and I paint with this brush, see the variation of color that I'm getting there? Well, I don't want it to be like that, so let's take this smoothness all the way up, and now we're going to change in a smooth manner. Change the color, or you'll change it every time you pick the brush up. Now, that is if we're using this color variability and we're using all these numbers very high. If I take that back down to about 5%, take this down to about 10, and take this one down to about 10. Now we're going to get changes, but they're going to stay in that same sort of blue-purple setup. We do this. All right, so the fluid brushes will work with color variability. They should work. Let's take this all back. They should work with color expression. Now, color expression is you're going to work with like this would be the primary color, okay? And then if I pop this back up, I wonder if I can do it that way. I'm not sure I can. Let's see. And we go to here. Okay, let's, in order to check that, I've got to go to Windows, Panels, Color Stuff, and go to Color. All right, so what I'm talking about is the main color and additional color. So color expression works with the main color and additional color. So if I have the main color red, or let's say that's going to be the additional color, and then we come back and do this one at, say, this green. It didn't do it. But there is a way to do this on this thing. I just don't remember it. Let's see if this has it. Use clone code. Nope, that doesn't do it. All right, so the easiest way to do it would be to do it here. All right, so we're going to there. All right, so now we have main color is green, additional color is that pink. All right, and we're coming over here, and we want to make the smoothness large, and we're going to do this with pressure. And I'm going to leave the color jitter at 0. Now what should happen is as I go from light to dark, the color is going to change. See, and then I went back to light again. All right, so that's another way we can affect the color. We can do color expression and color variability. Going to reset. You know, what's also down here is stroke jitter. So I could take this stroke jitter and I could increase that a bunch and set it up to do with pressure. And now when I paint, you see how it's getting that kind of brush look that's spotty. Look at that, how it just repeats that. And as I increase my pressure, I get more opaque, and lighter pressure gets less opaque. And that looks kind of nice. I mean, you could change the variability of that and also change the dab and get some pretty interesting stuff. You wouldn't have to do the stroke so big. Let's reset that. All right, this is the fluid paint panel. Let's see what else it, oh, no, we'll come back and look at the fluid paint panel in the next video. I get carried away and I forget about the time. All right, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.